Hey everyone, welcome. Uncovering growth in life's unscripted moments means learning to find strength, resilience, and personal development in situations where there is no clear plan or structure. Often we experience the most growth when life doesn't go as expected, whether it's a sudden change, a challenge, or an opportunity that comes out of nowhere. In these moments of uncertainty, we're pushed to adapt, reflect, and sometimes rethink our approach to life. By stepping outside of the rigid frameworks we often set for ourselves, we become more open to new possibilities and deeper insights. It's about embracing the unpredictability of life, using it as a catalyst for self discovery and transformation rather than resisting it. Welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I am your host, Al Richards. And today, my lovely guest is Angie Barnett, and we're going to be talking about pain and perseverance, which I'm really excited to talk about this topic. And just a little bit about Angie, so you guys know before we get started. Angie Barnett is a wife, a mother, and I really love this because my grandkids have guinea pigs, but she's also a guinea pig mom. And I had a guinea pig when I was a young man. So she loves Diet Coke, red lipstick, and she has a passion for history and all things vintage. She's currently finishing up her psychology degrees. Angie is a six-time above the knee leg amputation or amputee with multiple chronic illnesses. She has had 45 surgeries to date. Her latest was another amputee version in January of 2025. Angie is very active in on social media and sharing the realities that come with her health challenges. She hopes to bring light, joy, and maybe even some perspective into people's lives by helping others learn and balance the pain in life with peace. And I tell you what, when she says that she hopes to bring light, this beautiful lady definitely brings light. I've had the opportunity to see her on our friend's show, both of our friends' show, Ryan and Nicholas on Wake Up with Giants. This gal is a ball of energy and light, and I'm honored to call her a friend. So Angie, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I really do appreciate you extending the invitation. It's always a good day when I get to hang out with you, Al. And now you are part of the exclusive amputee club. There's quite a rigorous initiation process to that. So I'm sorry you had to go through that. But welcome, I guess, to that club.
Yeah, well, and thank you for welcoming me because really it's an absolute honor to be a part of this club. I'm only in it really a short 14 days post
Yeah.
since I've lost my leg. And
Yeah.
I cannot believe the amazing people that have come into my life already who have reached out to me. And I had an amazing lady who's from Salt Lake who her story was on the news back in 2020. She is now a good friend of mine, Heather. And it's just, she came and visited me the other day and she has both legs. And we just had an amazing conversation, had a lot of laughs. And, it's crazy because here I am doing the podcast at Encompass Health in Sandy, Utah. So I decided to not have the background of all the like hospital stuff. So a little more refreshing with the window and the flowers and the plant. But again, thank you for welcoming me. It isn't people may think we're nuts, but really isn't it absolute honor to be a part of this new group.
Yeah. Well, we have a different perspective on life because um when you lose a limb, like amputee to amputee, there's a different element of connectedness and like relationship. Like you connect on a different level because you go from being very abled to at times completely disabled. And it's just, the knowledge that it's given me when I say welcome, and I love that you say you're honored because honestly, for most of us that are amputees, it literally is what saved our life. And I'm honored because I'm still here. And it really is about that perspective. And, because there were multiple times when it almost took my life. And so I'm just like to my core grateful. I have amazing kids, an amazing spouse, of course, amazing guinea pigs because they're the best. And, it's like I said, it's a really horrible initiation process, and there's a lot of pain and a lot of devastation that comes with it. But when you can find balance in that devastation, like there's always an opposite in this world. I mean, it's the yin and the yang theory, Um, what's so beautiful is that finding the fact that we still are alive with when something tried to take our life. I mean, that means everything to me. And so I find deep peace in that, amidst the pain. And so that's one of the things about in my bio where I talk about finding peace in pain. Sometimes we do, like a lot of us deal with chronic pain and chronic illnesses. I myself have many actually, because I have a genetic disease called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I was born with that. It means I have defective collagen. And I was actually only diagnosed with that. They only figured out what was wrong with me when I was 45, and I am now 47. So I've only had 2 years to process this diagnosis and a whole host of comorbid conditions that come along with that. But up until that point, I'm having surgery after surgery and weird things happening and herniating things and organ prolapse and, all sorts of crazy things that I'm thinking, these are so random. Why is this happening? And it turns out that it all came back to a genetic disorder, a genetic disease that um, you know, there's no way that you can really there's no cure for that. I mean, it's rooted in my genes, my genome's defective, if you will. But I love that I love the way that science nowadays they have amazing research centers, and the UK is doing amazing things on finding out a lot about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. May is actually Ehlers-Danlos syndrome awareness month, and you are going to be interested in this. April is amputation awareness month.
Wow, I did not
So
know that.
we, yes, that a lot of us amputees, you'll know, I'm sure, I don't know if you've heard about it, but it is called the Amputee Coalition. And I actually am a huge advocate for them. They are on all over the different social medias. So I would encourage you to look up the Amputee Coalition and start getting active in our community there, because there are all of us at all different stages of amputations and revisions, and it could be a thumb amputation, a toe amputation, double leg amputations, an arm, I mean, it could be anything. And at times there's caregivers that are, they're participating as well, trying to learn and to grow. And there's all sorts of advancements that are being made in the technologies with the prosthetics industries. And it's just really a remarkable thing. But yes, so coming up, mark your calendar in April. That way you can participate there, because it really is, it's a huge community. And there's a lot of us, I should say, and I do say us because um, that deal with grief. Um, I I don't know. Maybe I'll just tell a little bit of backstory for
Yeah,
your
please.
viewers here.
Thank you.
Um, how I became an amputee. In 2012, I was in a skiing accident, and I had gone skiing to honor someone that I loved, and who had passed. And it was the first time I'd gone back skiing in like 13 years. First run of the day, and I hit this mogul going 100 miles an hour, and I hit it straight legged, and it snapped my leg on impact.
Oh,
So it tore all the ligaments. And that was the beginning of a total nightmare for me. Um, I didn't know it was completely broken, and I was actually married to my husband, my ex-husband, I should say now, he is still an addict. I was married to him for 20 years, and that the reason I talk about that is that detail comes into play here. Um, the addiction elements with him made him make some poor decisions regarding me. So or it facilitated poor decisions or whatever you want to say. So we get down from the mountain and I'm saying, I broke my leg. I need you to take me to the emergency room. And he's saying, no, I need to go to work. And because a lot of times when people are on substance, they're not thinking clearly, and I ended up being for 3 days at home with no medication, with my legs, my everything torn, my tib. It was a tibial plateau fracture, which is right at the base of your knee. It's very vascular, and I was swelling with it was just bleeding out into my knee, and a huge risk for compartment syndrome. And so I was in a huge amount of pain,
Jeez.
and I'm taking ibuprofen. And I'm saying, you got to take me to the hospital, and he's not listening. And anyway, Monday rolls around. This was on a Friday. Monday rolls around, and I say to my neighbor, hey, I think I broke my leg on Friday, and I haven't been able to get, I'm not going to say his name for privacy reasons and out of just respect for him and the kids, because I do hope someday he figures it out. Um, but yeah, like I said, just still sitting here, and she says, "We've got to get you to the doctor. Like this is crazy." So they took me and loaded me into, the van and drove me to the doctor, which I was indeed broken.
Shoot.
And that particular doctor said that it would take 6 months for my bones to heal. And I said, "Okay, you know, that's fine." I didn't know if I should have. I mean, I was very trusting, and I learned the hard way that not every doctor has your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And so about 6 months into my recovery, I went back and he said, "Okay, let's get you a new ligament," because I had torn my MCL and my ACL. And they took me in and they did surgery and gave me an ACL ligament, to which I started doing rehabilitation on the leg. And it was still like this. I don't know if you can see, but it was a 90-degree angle for all that's listening. If you can't see me, it's at a 90-degree angle, and I'm saying, why isn't healing? This is really weird. I'm into my head, this is kind of rhetorical, like, why isn't this healing? And I go to physical therapy one day and my cartilage and meniscus tear. And I was like, okay, this is definitely not normal. So I went back to my doctor and he said, "Oh, that's because you need an MCL." And I said, "Why didn't you do that when you were in there?" And he goes, "We'll do it now." So they take me back into surgery and they give me an MCL and they fix the cartilage and the meniscus. And I said, okay, um, come back out, go back, start rehabbing. 3 months goes by. Okay. My leg's still like this at a 90-degree angle. And I said, "Why is it like this?" I go back to him and I say that. And he says, "Oh my gosh, the MCL didn't take, and you've worn away all your cartilage in your meniscus. You need a knee replacement, a total knee." And I would, mind you, I was 35. Okay. And I was like, what? So I'm still trusting the doctor. So he takes me in, he does a total knee replacement, and I start rehabilitating that. And we can't get it to bend or straighten properly. So I had to go in for what's called a manipulation, where they take and they knock you out, they put you under anesthesia, and then they go in and they forcibly um make your knee bend. and straighten it, right? So it breaks up all the scar tissue on the top and the bottom, right? So you're going down and you're bending, right? Um, so we did that. It still didn't work. We went in for a second manipulation, and he snapped my femur in two places.
Oh my goodness.
So I went to him with a broken tib and torn ligaments, and he snapped my femur. And it wasn't until after that that his PA came and told me that my MCL that they had put in was too big. And he felt really bad about it. And that they had basically MacGyvered it, you know, or, Jimmy rigged it or whatever you want to call it. They had basically made it fit, which obviously, if it's too big, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Rather than say, okay, we messed up. And so, anyways, so I come out of anesthesia and he says, we fractured your femur. And I said, you what? And he goes, yeah, we fractured your femur in two places. And, I was in shock. I didn't even have words, right? And I'm a very chill person. So I don't really get like super riled up, but I was just like in shock. I think my face said it all. I was just, my jaw dropped. So they took me to recovery and then took me to a place where you're supposed to work with a physical therapist. Now that would be the case if the surgery was good, which mine was not. So I went in there and they had me laying there, and the physical therapist came in, and I said, I just want to let you know that he fractured my femur in two places. And I kid you not, said to me, well, he hasn't told me anything, so I'm going to continue to do what I would normally do. And so he propped my leg on the table and proceeded to drape 19 pounds of weight on
The
that knee
hell?
on a double broken, yeah. And I said, you shouldn't be doing this. Of course, I can't feel it, but I know it's bad because even coming out of anesthesia, I'm logical enough to know that you at least call and chat. So they drape it on there, and it's of course the doctor comes to check on me, sees it, freaks out. Oh my gosh, she's got fractured femur. Ah, get it off, get it off. So they take it off. I looked at him and I said, I told ya. Like I don't mean to be the I told you so person, but this is kind of like my body you're messing
Yeah.
with, and that was not cool. And anyways, so um of course, I call my ex-husband. Now this is a key piece too, is with his addiction, he was not there ever like emotionally. So he would drop me off to my surgeries. Okay. He wasn't like he wouldn't stay, he didn't want my mom or anybody to be there. So I would go through these things by myself. This was just a very common thing. And then I would call him and he would come pick me up, which was really hard. I had to become very independent and very strong, like emotionally. I couldn't rely on him. And hit just so that you guys know and understand what we're talking about is he was deep into meth. He was methamphetamines. He was also into acid, psilocybin mushrooms, and was an insane black velvet drinker. And it was all like he would hide it all, and like it was just really really bad. And it was just, yeah, and I said acid, right? Did I
Yeah.
say that?
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. The concoction made it so that he mentally was not with us. Like he just wasn't. And there was, no logic because of the degree of addiction that he was dealing with. And so rather than try to talk logic to someone who's not logical, it became easier for me to just retreat inward and pull myself up by my bootstraps, which by the way, at that time I had two because I still had 2 feet.
Yeah.
Anyways, so um anyway, I go home and I call a different doctor, like a primary care, and they said this should never have happened. We're going to get you to a different doctor. And he helped me heal up that specific my femur bone and sent me to a trauma knee specialist at the Katy Hospital. Actually, it was where I went because I this is back when I lived up north in Cache Valley, Utah. And anyways, so I went to this. I just had a really bad feeling that there was something deeper, something worse going on in my leg. And I went to meet this specific doctor who came highly rated and just very beloved by whoever talked about him. And I do credit him with saving my life. He said, I hate to tell you this straight out the gate, but I think you have infection and they've missed it somehow. So they did a bunch of tests and scheduled surgery to take my knee out, to take my knee replacement out. And I said, um, okay, and of course it came back that I was full of infection. And so that was yeah, I went in and they took the actual knee replacement out, and he said um, that it looked like the bottom of a river bottom, like the mossy, slimy, like he said it was bad. And that it was so my femur bone and my tibia were completely full of infection at that point. And so I went through the first of four bone cleanouts that I ended up going through.
Hmm.
And you might be like, what's a bone cleanout? Well, a bone cleanout is where they take, it's like a rotor bit, and they go down the shaft of the bone in the inside, and they extract all that bone marrow and a layer or two of the inside of that bone. Then they pack it full of antibiotic cement, and they put an antibiotic spacer in between to act as my knee, which would continue to feed antibiotics. And then they put a PICC line in my arm, and I did 5 to 7 IVs a day for almost a year and a half.
Geez, almighty.
And yeah, I fought really hard to save my leg. And the entire time, I'm married to someone who is deeply addicted. And pills were also because it was an opioid thing. So at times, he would take my pills, he would steal them. And I was always hiding them and he was always finding them. And so there was multiple surgeries where they're cleaning out my bones and I'm running out of pain meds and have to just literally like it's like bite the leather strap kind of thing, like back in the 1800s. Only I think they used to have like laudanum or something. I don't know what they used to do. Like I don't know, some weird vintage something. We know I love vintage, but I'm not talking like that. Like we don't want no laudanum here.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying. Um, anyways, and so I'm going through all of this, and my doctor, he was really sweet. He could not stand my ex-husband because he would drop me off, and I would go through all of these horrible things, and I would be and I had this amazing infectionologist who was trying to figure out what the infection was, and they couldn't. They did over 50 bone cultures, and it was unidentifiable. And yeah, they couldn't treat it because like appropriately. They were trying to kill it with everything they could.
Yeah.
So
Well, if I can pause you just for a second, Angie,
please, yes.
you know, everything that you're going through and not having that support of your spouse, you're already going through a ton of pain and misery, and you're doing everything you can as an individual to be strong, being by yourself. And both you and I know, because where we're at in our lives right now, we know that also does a lot of harm to us. So
Yeah,
I'm picturing everything that you're saying, and I'm picturing you getting this double whammy from both sides, right? Because
yeah,
we cannot do it alone. We have to have a support system on the
right.
outside side of it. Somebody to, whether they're there to hold your hand or brush the hair away from your eyes and put a cold
Yep.
rag on you or something, just to say, hey, come on, you got this, keep hanging in there. You're trying to do this all by your frickin' self. I can't
Yep.
imagine going through the pain that you're going through, because now I've experienced not like what you have with the bone clean out and all that stuff, where I'm just guessing it is just excruciating pain. And
Yeah.
then also not having that support on the outside. I mean,
Yeah.
how you are still where you are at today with your strength and your energy and your whole outlook on life. I mean, girl, man, praises to you. Good on you for the strength.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I really do because it was hard. You know, I had four sons and they were pretty young and they were the reason that I had to keep it together.
Mm.
They were my everything. They still are. And now I have amazing stepchildren too. And so like my kids are my everything. And you know, it's when we find our why outside of us, we truly can do really amazing things. People are like, I don't know how you do it. You know what? I don't know how I did it either. You just do it when you don't have another choice.
Yeah.
It's like either you do it or you don't. And honestly, like my will to live was and be that mother and love on my kids was stronger than my will to give up. And I'm just really grateful that it was because of where I'm at now.
Yeah, because you
And
could have took that you could have took a simpler, let's just say it is simpler, right? You could have
yeah,
fell back in that other choice and
yep,
ended up being in the same arena that your ex-husband's in, right? Because you could go,
exactly. Which
I've had
he
enough.
actually,
Yeah, I'm gonna numb
yep, he
myself because I don't
encouraged
want to
this.
feel. Oh, I bet he did, because he was, you know,
He
he
did.
he was wanting you in that same arena that he's in, because now he feels like he has you back, but also you're in his sandbox, and it's a lot easier to play in your
Exactly.
own sandbox than it is to play in someone else's.
100%. And I was not about to have that. I think that like there were many times that, you know, he tried to, encourage that type of behavior. And I think I look back and even at that time, I remember it was like there's a little voice in the back of your head that says to you, you have to make sure that you don't walk the same roads that he's walking because look where it's taking him. Like I could see that. And having like a cognitive awareness was key for me, and just being able to say, a lot of people are like, oh well, I can't help this or I can't help that, but really, you know what, you can. I had the ability to, I could have gone down that road and I chose not to. And I chose to, I mean, I was on pain medications, you can imagine, for months. I
Yeah.
know withdrawals. My body was absolutely wrecked with withdrawals, but that does not mean that I was an addict. It means that I went through withdrawals because I was on pain meds for a while, because I was going through surgery after surgery after surgery. It's kind of like I was teaching someone the difference. An addict is someone who abuses medications or some type of substance, right? A person an addict is not someone like me personally. I was not an addict because I was in withdrawals. Like if a 5-year-old patient that gets burned and is put on morphine for that pain for say their body's 60% burned and they're on that, will you call that 5-year-old an addict if they have withdrawals?
Hmm.
If they're be doing what their doctors are telling them to do, I would say no, because no abuse is involved in that.
Yeah.
So I think understanding what addiction was a key piece to me too, because there were multiple times I didn't want to treat my own pain because I was terrified that I'd end up like him.
I had that same the same thought pattern, right? Being put on oxycodone, and I know
Mhm.
it's an addictive type of narcotic, and I was really
Mhm.
fighting well, and my good buddy Joe, who has really been by my side throughout this whole thing, just like my daughters and my mom and my aunt and uncle and some other friends.
Yeah.
He's like, brother, there's a difference because he was an addict. And I mean,
Huh?
he's telling me everything about every prescription, every drug they have me on. He knows exactly what it's doing and
Yeah.
what's working. And he goes, Al, there's a difference because yours is pain management.
Yes.
Right? That's the difference
Exactly.
between an addict where they abuse it. For someone like us, it's pain management
Exactly.
to keep us comfortable
Yes.
so we can go through our rehab, so we can go through it
Mhm.
with some type of comfort without us being in constant pain. Because as you know, we
Yeah.
talked earlier before we hit record, you had a time your blood pressure was like over 200 and something,
Yeah.
and mine was almost
Yeah.
that. It was 198 over, I don't know,
Yeah.
like 97 or something like that.
It's scary.
And it is scary because without that pain management, now we've put ourselves in a lot more danger than what we're already
Yeah.
in. So, but I understand the difference because there's times I get night sweats where I'm just sweating my ass off, and everyone that comes in my room thinks it's an ice box in here, but I'm sweating my
Interesting.
ass
Yeah.
off, and it's because my body has not had this many
Yep.
prescriptions in it ever my whole life.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden
Yep.
I'm bombarded with all these chemicals and my body's going,
Right.
I don't know what to do with it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And it's a hard space to be in too, because as a person who was married to someone who was an addict, like there's an analogy that I often use when I'm speaking about that. Um, you know, when I was married, I'm one of those that I'm fully committed, right? Like fiercely loyal and fully committed, and I tried to do everything that I could to help him, like literally. And what's really fascinating is like it was like I was at the bottom of a cliff and they were up here, and they were just every time they'd do a drug, they got closer to that edge, and I'm down here screaming, "Watch out for the edge! Watch out for the edge!" And eventually they fall off, right? And they land and they break all their bones in that process. But you know what? They landed on you. They landed on me. He landed on me and broke my bones in that process too. And that's how I view addiction. And I it got to a point where he became um he had it was he's diagnosed with it was like addiction. What is it called? It's schizophrenia, but it was basically he got that from use of psychedelics and the mixtures and the concoction. So it was basically drug induced. That's the word I'm trying to look at. Drug induced psychosis. And so it wasn't until he got to that point, and I ended up at a point in my story where I was healed enough that I could get out. Um, it took a little time, but I ended up being able to, and I'm just wholly grateful. Every day I'm grateful. But yeah, like it back a little bit to I went through these bone cleanouts, and I was on IV antibiotics for a year and a half. They had to fuse my leg bones together with a rod so it was stuck out straight. So I have these hilarious pictures because I didn't have a knee in there. My bones were so weak. And so I'm at my son's graduation, my oldest son's graduation, and my foot's straight out. And I'm like limping with this straight leg.
Oh my.
And tubes hanging down and making mac and cheese and out trying to mow the lawn and just, try to have a sense of normalcy. And nothing about that is normal. Like
Oh,
nothing about it is normal. But you in the moment, you literally take things one task at a time, one step at a time, one thing at a time. And I think that's the key to anything that's hard in life is one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, and you can get there. Um, but yeah, my meds, they ended up starting like I had home health every week, and my medicines started to kill my kidneys. And I had to make a decision. I had to make the decision, do I want my kidneys or do I want to keep fighting for my leg? And I think that's an obvious decision, like you need your kidneys. So I was like, all right. And so they scheduled the first amputation for June 16th of 2020, or excuse me, 2016. And I'll never forget the night before. I think I was telling you a little bit about this is because my kids were still pretty young, you know. I have four sons, and they're all 2 to 2.5 years apart. My oldest was 18, so I had 18, 16, 14, and 12, right? And so I let them, I painted my toenails my favorite hot pink, and I let them write Sharpie messages. Thanks for letting mom do all the gardening, and thanks for helping mom make cookies. And like they're basically doing goodbye messages to this leg because it was weird, I know, but it was weird to have me gonna be losing a leg. And I'm trying to like normalize this, but also keep it light, because that's a scary thing when you know that your mom's going in to get her leg cut off. I mean, I it sounds very abrasive, but it is abrasive. And that's a scary thing for a young kid. So I did, and went in, and um that time my mom was allowed to come up, and my sisters, they weren't gonna be told that they couldn't be there. So I was really grateful that they were there, and they came up, and I had my first amputation, and it was really intense. I actually was in that same facility that you're in
yeah.
for rehabilitation, but it was interesting how I ended up there. Um, I I had been in the hospital in McKD, and I went home, and they had me on a nerve medication. The specific medication was Lyrica, and I had an allergic reaction to it, severe allergic reaction to it. And I broke out in giant blisters all over my stump, and they were excruciating. And my sister said to me, or said to my ex-husband, we've got to get her to the emergency room, and he wouldn't let him take me. And they just got fed up with it and basically said, get out of our way. This is our sister. We're done with this.
Well,
And like scooped me up, put me in the car, and I don't remember a lot of it. And yeah, so I ended up there, and yeah, it was good. They're good people there. But yeah, they helped my stuff heal. And but yeah, that was the first amputation, and then they didn't get all of the infection, unfortunately. The longer the stump you have, the easier it is for you to use a prosthetic. People have often asked me, are you mad that you had to go back? And I said, not at all. I was fully aware he was going to try and leave as much stump as possible. And I was all on board because I know that that means that it's easier to use a prosthetic the longer your stump is. And so, not that it's ever easy to use a prosthetic. I'm going to tell you that straight out. But the longer the stump, they said that the higher the success rate. And um, August 9th, I ended up going back in for a second amputation because they didn't get all the infection. And they still didn't get all the infection. So I had a third amputation on September 8th of 2016. And February, let's see, fast forward about 4 months to, or let's see, 5 months, how much? I don't even remember. Fast forward to February of
I got
2017. That's when I was healthy enough within the scheme of things, and things were scary enough within the context of who I was married to, that I was able to take my four boys, whatever we had in our that we could throw into a trailer, and flee to where my family lives down in southern Utah. And I went and got a job. And yeah, like I was still healing. And yeah, it's kind of a crazy story. And it just gets crazier. It really does. Honestly, like there's a book in the works. I mean, there is.
good, good. I hope so. And this just goes everything that you have shared, Angie, really, it goes to show about what this title's all about, right? The pain and perseverance.
Hmm.
Because literally that's what it takes to get through to where you want to get through, where you want to go. And we spoke about it earlier about making a choice. And
Uh-huh.
you know, I actually did a show, a podcast where my coaches who trained me, where I actually had my coach be the host of my show and I was the guest of
Oh,
my own show. And
that's so cool.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. And he was asking me, if because I battled a weekend cocaine and alcohol back in the early, well, into the early 19, well, actually, no, it was in the early 2000s up to about
Yeah,
2009. And,
yeah,
and he asked if that thought had come across about going back. And I said, yeah, it did for a split second. It's like, I'm
yeah.
going to make a couple phone calls and see what I can find. And I said, but that split second was so short because it's just like what you've said throughout the show. It's like my priority was saving my leg. I wanted to
Yep.
save my leg. I did not want to go feel sorry for myself and start doing lines
Yeah.
and drinking just because of what was going on. It's
Yep.
like, what can we do? What options do we have to save my leg?
Absolutely.
And it's
Yep.
almost like as parents, we would do anything we could to help our children, right? We would
Oh,
if they were
absolutely.
losing a limb, we would offer our limb if it was capable
Oh,
of,
yeah.
right? Just so they
100%.
could live the life because we've already lived a lot of our life. Let them enjoy
100%.
theirs. Unfortunately, a lot of times that doesn't happen. So we're doing the same thing for us. And I could almost guarantee with what your boys have seen you go through, they probably have, if not even more, of a stronger outlook of how life should be looked at and life should be lived because they're seeing their mom go through one painful event after another, plus also having a partner who is not there
Uh-huh.
hardly at all.
Not at all. Yeah.
And they're being also pretty much kept away from things, right? Where they want to come and comfort their mother. I mean,
Yeah.
it goes to show that it's possible, but it's our choice. We have to make that choice
100%.
up here, right? Is
Yeah.
you want to walk around the rest of your life going, poor me, this happened to me, uh,
Yeah.
this happened to me because of this, and no, I can't enjoy life because of this. Or do we go, you know what, this happened to us. This is how my life is supposed to go, apparently. What can I do
Yep.
to make the freaking best out of it?
Absolutely.
And by doing that, you are encouraging and you are helping others, probably without you even knowing it in the majority
Oh,
of
I
it.
hope so. I
You're,
really do hope so.
yeah, yeah, you
I
are.
I sometimes wonder, you know, I'm just a little 5'2" dork with one leg that tries to, hobbles along and tries to at least, I don't know, maybe make somebody smile, but I one of the things that I think is key, and if I can just friend to friend explain something to you as a new amputee, you'll find that you'll go through periods of grief having lost a limb. And for the longest time, I kept thinking, I've already grieved this, you know, not realizing that grief is not linear. So when that grief comes, because it will, just embrace that grief, and then you will get through that grief. It's a wave. Emotions are waves. Emotion, energy in motion. If you think about it, it's it's you ride those waves, okay? And part of, I think, why a lot of people struggle with that I've met struggle with addiction when it comes to things like surgeries, because my ex-husband, he initially got addicted to pills due to a back injury. And what's interesting is, like, had he recognized that those horrible emotions that came along, with, oh, I like, there's emotions, there's shame, there's all these things that you feel almost like imposter syndrome, like, who is this body? I don't have this leg anymore. And I'm speaking from personal experience, but riding that waves, embracing that grief, it allows you to go through that grief and not get stuck in that grief, because you are feeling that pain. And when you feel that pain and you make space for that grief and that pain, guess what? You get to make space for everything good, because there's balance in life. It's the yin and the yang. If you have pain, that means you have that much amazing joy that you have likely not tapped into. Whether it's, with a hobby you've not discovered yet, or I mean, it could be anything. It could be music, it could be schooling, it could be, but grief comes and healing is not linear. And don't ever get down on yourself as in your journey. Look, me, I'm starting to, the waterworks are coming. What is the salty discharge? No,
What is
don't
that
quote.
stuff?
I'm quoting Seinfeld.
Yes.
Anyways, um, but I guess what I'm saying is it's okay. Too many people, I feel like it's almost like they feel like they need permission to feel. And you know what? You don't need permission to feel. To feel is to be human, and to be human is beautiful. And I'm talking all the emotions, you know, the sadness, the anger, the love, the joy. I was once taught that when you feel a sense of anger, and this is not the case for everything, but it was one of the most profound things I've ever heard, said, anger is the part of you that knows that someone or something is doing you wrong. And I was like, wow, you know what? If I'm angry at myself, I need to kind of self-evaluate. Okay, I'm angry, but is it because I'm doing something maybe I shouldn't be doing? That is something that can be translated into the life of an addict. It can be translated into the life of anyone. Self-reflection is key, self-awareness is key. Um, just moving through life one day at a time and one moment at a time is literally key. And
Yeah.
not being ashamed of being human. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be so excited that you laugh your freaking brains out. Like, I sometimes will laugh to where I'm crying. And my kids are like, you're so embarrassing. And I'm like, yay me! I'm embarrassing, whatever. You
Yeah.
don't like it? Walk out. I'm not going to stop laughing. Why? Because I'm human. Joy is beautiful. Sadness is beautiful. Why? Because it creates the sum of a human being,
Yeah.
and it's powerful.
It is. It
And
is.
it's
Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're good. I honestly can't, you're good. I'm very, I'm very passionate about it in the sense that I think society tells us not to feel, to
Yes.
dumb it down, to tune it out, to put it on a shelf, to mindlessly scroll, to do, I mean, we have epidemics of teenagers that are self-harming. We have epidemics of people who are resorting to, substance, whether whatever the substance may be. It could even be, a porn addiction. Anything that's in excess is not good. It could be a work addiction. But you know what? A lot of times people resort to those things because they're denying themselves of being human and
Yeah.
denying themselves of feeling, you know, just embrace feeling it because you know what? There's peace in acceptance. I may not like that I'm an amputee, but I accept I'm an amputee and I find peace in that. I can't change it. It
No.
is what it is, you know? It's
Yeah. Well, and by accepting it, you're not putting that Band-Aid on it, right? So people who suffer from an addiction, it doesn't matter what the addiction is. The brain fires the exact same way, whether it's drugs, alcohol, porn, sex,
yep,
gambling, eating, shopping, working, whatever it may be.
yep.
It's that
It's a
Band-Aid.
dopamine fix.
It's not wanting to feel it, right? And I'm so grateful that you shared that because when I was taking my training, we like to use the beach ball. And it's like you're trying to
Mhm.
submerge the beach ball under the water. Now, if anybody has gotten a beach ball and tried pushing it down into a swimming pool or whatever water they're in, the further you go down, the harder it is to hold that ball. When we are not allowing our emotions to go through their course, we're holding that beach ball under the frickin' water. And and I really do
Mhm.
feel like that's why suicide rate is going up for men between ages 18 to
Yep.
55, which is now creeping closer to the 60s because I
Yep.
was brought up the old fashioned way. Don't you dare cry. If you cry, I'll give you something to cry about and pull up your big boy britches.
Right.
And so we are
Yep.
taught to hold everything inside here. And I remember the
Yeah.
first time I did my very first speaking engagement, I broke down and started crying. And I remember someone coming
Aw.
to me afterwards and going and I apologized to them. I says, I apologize for crying. And she was like, Al, you had so many of us in the audience crying because we felt your emotions.
Yep.
Do not ever hold your emotions back.
Yeah.
And and
Yep.
I've done enough speaking engagements to where I can tell the same story and still frickin' cry during that time.
Mhm.
Right. And as a man, I'm not embarrassed to do it at all because I have to allow my emotions. You talk about some of the stuff that you went through at the beginning and just Monday. I woke up Monday morning here and I just like felt like this black cloud was over me. And see, here I go. I was laid in bed with tears just running down my face. And I'm telling myself, okay, just let it happen. Let them flow, right? This is my
Yep.
storm moving across the valley, right? If you've been in Salt Lake and you see a storm coming from the oaks out there off the west and coming across the valley, it's like I'm just going to allow it to take its course. And then once it did, I was like, oh, all right, I feel so much
Yeah.
better. All right, let's make the freaking best day I can make out of this, right? And I didn't think back. I didn't think back of, oh, poor
Right.
me or nothing. I didn't feel sorry for myself. I did during that time and allowed it to go
Yeah.
through. Once it passed, I was right back on
Yep.
course again and go in the direction I needed to go. So I'm so grateful that you brought that up because you don't have to be an amputee. You don't have to be in recovery. I mean, life
No.
throws us shit balls all the time because, as you said many
All
times,
the time.
yin and the yang, It's how we
Yep.
grow. Do not ever be embarrassed of showing your emotions. There
No.
is, just because society says you're weak if you do that, uh-uh. You are stronger than those who are saying you are weak. The
Right.
weak ones are the ones who's trying to fit in that box with everyone,
Yep.
while some of us are going, I'm no longer going to stand here with this. I'm going to step outside the box. I'm going to do me, and I'm going to allow whatever I need to do to make me a better person. Yes, it sucks, but Angie, you know this firsthand. There's not a damn thing
Yep.
we can do to go back in the past and change anything. Let's just make
Nope.
the best of what we got right now.
Right. Right. 100%. Um, just a little tidbit that I thought I would throw in there. Um, so the body's stress hormone is cortisol, right? I don't know if you know this. I only learned it a couple of years ago, but the body has ways of decreasing and like when you're stressed, your cortisol raises. When you're not stressed, it decreases. Did you know that the body literally, when you cry, it is a mechanism, a catharsis that decreases your cortisol?
I did not.
Isn't that amazing? It
That is,
is scientifically, physiologically a thing where when you cry, your body is naturally regulating itself. Naturally. Isn't that beautiful?
it's an amazing machine, right? God didn't mess up when he made us
No,
at
not at
all.
all.
At all. So
Not
that
at
goes to
all.
show why watch animals, right? I like to use ducks. I've seen ducks
Yeah,
attack each other out on the pond or a lake, and then they go their merry way, and then they don't go very far before they quack, and then they kind of get
right.
in the water and flap their wings. Then they
Yeah.
float around like nothing ever happened.
Yep.
I guess, we need to look more at that, right? We need to
Yeah.
whack or get angry or hit something or punch something or yell and scream into a pillow and then go,
Right.
okay, I'm back to good
Right.
again, right? I'm hunky dory.
Right. 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 Because there's so many natural ways to like get to where you need to be. Whether that's write it out. I started writing poetry. Like I have tons of poetry, just tons of it. Just I mean like and some of it's really good if I do say so myself. I'm like a regular Shakespeare, right? Or I don't know, whoever the poet is. I'm a Shel Silverstein or Dr. Seuss or something, but you find something that you can get that release, get it out. And
Yeah,
if there's tears all over that page when you're done writing, that's okay because you know what? It means you are regulating those emotions, Whether you're dancing, singing, whatever, all of those things are proven to reset the vagus nerve and lower that cortisol in a natural way. And that's beautiful, you know?
it is very, very beautiful. My gosh, this has gone by so fast. I think you and I need to probably do another one down the road just to continue like
Happy to.
where we're at, because this conversation about life and going through all the stuff that you've gone through and still see, I mean, for me, I'm on the other end of the camera just seeing this beautiful individual who has
Oh,
through so much, who has still kept her family together, who still has kept herself together through
oh,
so many adversities, and still persevere to come out on top. And that says so much about who you are as an individual and how you look
you're
at
gonna make me
life.
cry.
Well, I mean, see, I can get emotional even. Seriously, Angie,
Well, I appreciate it. I do. I
are,
really do.
yeah, you are such, I mean, I admire you so much. And it's a lot of people who, I mean, I don't know how much older I am of you. You mentioned 47. I'll be
Yeah,
62 in July, and I still learn from other individuals. I'm not one of those ones that, oh, I've lived my life. You can't teach me anything. I learn from my
right.
great
Me either.
right? I learned from my grandkids, and I
Yeah.
look up to you, and and it's like
Um,
for me, I know where my brain's at and I know the direction I want to go. However, when I see or talk with an individual like yourself, it's like, man, look at all she's gone through. Mine's just a, I don't want to say piss in the bucket because it's not, but mine is still something big because it is for my life. However, if she can do it, I can do it, right? And it's individuals
exactly.
like this who are hoping, you're hoping to touch hundreds and thousands of other people. Well, you've
I
touched
do.
one right here that you know of is
Aw,
right here. Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate that. I
yeah.
really do.
So
I
thank
do.
you.
One thing, just one last thing that I was gonna say is, it's interesting because a lot of times people, you were saying that you feel like, your pain is, it's something, but it's like not in the whole like compare like in comparison kind of to mine. The way that I look at it is every single person has pain in this life. Pain is pain is pain, and it all sucks, you
Yeah,
know?
that's
And it's what we do with it. Do we let it allow us to sink, or do we allow it to shape us to soar,
yeah,
you know? So, yeah, pain is pain, and I don't look at my experience as worse than anyone else's, not one person, but I also don't look at it as better. I think there's a neutrality that comes with life and our experiences, and it should be treated with that. And I mean, other people might view those as that different, and that's okay, but I don't want someone else to feel less
mm,
because they think I have gone through more. I want them to feel equal. I want them to feel that. I want them to feel empowered. I want them to recognize that there's so much untapped strength that
yeah,
you don't know what you're capable of till you're stuck in something.
yeah. And be proud of yourself, right? I was a guest on a podcast yesterday myself, and
I love it.
yeah, and the gal Carrie Lewis is a really good dear friend of mine. She's on the East Coast, and she left me a voice message this morning. She goes, Al, I was listening to our show, and you said something a couple times on it, and about not wanting to toot my own horn, right? And she goes, I started thinking about it, and I'm one who really has worked hard to pay attention to my ego. We need ego to survive. However,
Yep.
ego can also take us to a point really where we don't really want to be, right?
Right.
Goes,
Right.
Al, embrace it. She goes, sweetie, you worked your effing ass off to get to where you're at. And so
100%.
not ever say you're not tooting your own horn because you deserve to toot your own damn horn. And I went, oh my gosh,
Absolutely.
another lesson
Yep.
learned, right?
Yep.
So here we are, our
100%.
horns, sweetie. We're tooting our horns as loud as we can go.
Look at us, one-leggers.
One-leggers,
Just us
one-legger horn
one-leggers,
tooters.
kicking our horns. That's right.
I love it. I love it. Well, Angie, do you want any words of inspiration you'd like to say to the listeners before we sign off?
I would just say be kinder to yourself than what you've been. Because I can guarantee you that every single person out there listening to this, including myself, including you, Al, deserves to be kinder to themselves. We are always our own worst critic. Life is hard, but you know what? Together, we can we can get through it. And whether that means that, it's something really difficult, or maybe it's something, only minorly difficult, like, I stubbed my toe or something, you know, every little thing that we go through in life, it shapes us.
Mhm.
How we react to it, it's important. And you matter. I guess that's the bottom line, is you matter. What you feel matters. The fact that you feel it, matters. And that's okay. Embrace it. Embrace who you are. Be kind to who you are, and just keep going one step at a time. Acknowledge where you can improve, but also acknowledge what you're doing good. Like Al was saying, tooting your own horn. I think there's something very valuable to that. You know, I think true humility is when nothing can touch you, neither praise nor disgrace, because you know who you are. And I think that's so important. Um and beautiful, you know? Um don't strive to be better than others. Don't strive to be lower than others. Strive to be exactly 100% and perfectly you.
I love it. Very well said. Very well said. Again, Angie, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us. I
No
really
problem. Thanks for having me.
absolutely. And again, we'll have to talk. I think we need to do another show here in the near future down the road.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Definitely.
I
Do a
love
little
it.
check-in.
Doodle check in, the one-legged tutors, man. Here we come.
Definitely.
I love it. Well, guys, again, thank you for all your support. Thank you to all my past guests, all my future guests. Thank you for all you listeners. You guys are the ones that's actually making all this possible. We actually hit 4 years. We hit our fourth birthday on March 18th. So, and it's because of you guys. You guys are the ones that's making it possible. So, we're going to leave you with this that we do like we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.